Good evening. We're ready to begin. This Plan Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented on KCLV, Cable Channel 2, and are closed captioned for hearing impaired viewers. Please note customers of CenturyLink can view this program in high definition on channel 1002. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Schlottman.
Present.
Vice Chair Cherry.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Moody.
Here.
Commissioner Trowbridge. Here. Commissioner Creer. Excused. Commissioner Toussaint.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I call your attention to the information printed in the agenda concerning our actions in the appeal and review process if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we could have a smooth meeting. And for anybody that has not been to a Planning Commission hearing, the agenda is on both sides of the half wall. So, moving on to number 4, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of in time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. All comments made on this item for specific action items will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public discussion and move on to item 5. For possible action to approve the final minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of June 13th, 2017.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting of June 13th, 2017.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. It appears that Commissioner Trowbridge is having an issue. Oh, okay.
You got it.
We got it. That motion carries. Any items from the Planning Commission staff and or the applicant wish to be stricken or held in abeyance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted upon at this time. Are there any items? Staff?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested to obey items 11 and 12 to the August 8th Planning Commission meeting. Applicants have requested to obey items 18, 19, 27 through 29, and 30 through 32 to the September 12th Planning Commission meeting. The applicant has requested to withdraw without prejudice item numbers 39 and 40. And then we have a request from the applicant to obey items 20 and 22 to the August 8th Planning Commission meeting. That one is a third request for abeyance.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing items number 47, 48, 49, and 50, which is with Richmond American Homes. We had a neighborhood meeting with the neighbors last night, and we told the neighbors that we were going to continue this matter, to continue to work with them, so we'd asked to hold it for 30 days.
Okay, thank you. So that will be held till the September 12th Planning Commission meeting. I apologize. The August 8th Planning Commission hearing. Anyone else wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask the Vice Chair for a motion.
Through the chair, we have a motion on item number 11 and 12 to hold the item in abeyance until the August 8th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. Items number 18 and 19 to be obeyed to the September 12th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. Items number 20, 21, and 22 to be held to the August 8th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. 27, 28, 29 to be held into the September 12th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. 30, 31, and 32 to be held in abeyance to September 12th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. 39 and 40 to be withdrawn without prejudice. And items number 47, 48, 49, and 50 to be obeyed until the August 8th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. That motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda items. Consent items are considered routine by the Planning Commission and may be enacted by one motion. However, any item may be discussed if a commissioner member or the applicant so desires. Are there any members from the public or the Planning Commission that wishes to speak on these items? Seeing none, I'll close the public discussion and ask for a motion.
Motion for approval on the consent agenda items 7 through 10.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Thank you. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, item number 7 is final action unless appealed within 10 days. Items 8, 9, and 10 are final action unless appealed in 7 days.
Thank you. Moving on to one motion, one vote. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearing, non-public hearing items will be opened at one time. Any person representing the application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this portion of the agenda. Starting with item number 13, VAR 70962, applicant Jewel Unit Owners Association, owner DK Jewel LLC, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 0-foot setback for a proposed monument sign where 5 feet from the property line is required at 353 East Bonneville Avenue, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Item 14, SUP 70668, applicant owner ProView Series 6 LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a multifamily residential use at 813 East Ogden Avenue, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item 15, SUP 70704, applicant owner William Silva, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed accessory structure Class 1 casita use at 6265 West Lone Mountain Road, Ward 4, Anthony. Staff recommends approval. Item 16, SDR 70736, applicant owner 220 North 4th Street LV LLC, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a 250,000 square foot, 8-story, 495-room hotel addition to an existing resort hotel and casino at 220 North 4th Street, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. And finally, item number 17, VAC 70614, applicant owner Howard Uses Company LLC, for possible action on a request for a petition to vacate a portion of Crossbridge Drive and west of Sky Vista Drive, Ward 2, Beers. Staff recommends approval. I'm going to go ahead and open this for up to the public. If there's anyone who wants to comment on any of these items, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission. No one has any comments? I'd like to request a motion.
Through the chair, we'll make a motion for approvals on items 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Thank you. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, items 13, 14, 15, and 16 are final action unless appealed within 10 days. Item 17 will go forward to City Council at the 8/16/2017 City Council meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing items, starting with item number 23, abeyance VAR 69639, applicant owner Habad Southern Nevada, Inc., for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an 8-foot tall wrought iron fence in the front yard where a maximum height of 5 feet is allowed at 1312 Vista Drive, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial.
Through the chair, if I may, I'm going to have to abstain from this item out of abundance of caution. My family has a relationship with this religious organization.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, please note that there is a revised site plan dated 7/6/17 with revised conditions and staff report. The applicant is requesting to permit a proposed fence that exceeds the maximum height requirements. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary hardship to justify the request has been presented, and staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Laura Drea, 520 South 4th Street, here on behalf of the Desert Torah Day School. As staff read into the record, we've changed the placement of the fence so as not to obstruct the landscaping. The staff report's remaining concern is the height of the fence of 8 feet, where code allows for 5. To that, I'd like to state the purpose of this fence is not to demarcate a property line. It's not to retain students from running out into the street or off the campus, or for privacy. The purpose of this fence is for safety of the students by keeping intruders from the campus. In fact, Homeland Security granted funds towards this security fence for this school. The burden of proof for a variance is to present an extraordinary circumstance versus a self-imposed hardship. The Anti-Defamation League has recorded a spike of hate crimes of 86% in the first quarter of 2017 nationwide, 2 of which were threats and vandalisms to Jewish centers here in Las Vegas, one on the very next block from this particular school. Parents and staff of the school consider this an extraordinary circumstance. I hope you do too. Finally, I'm submitting a letter from the crime prevention specialist and the private security consultant stating that 5 feet is not sufficient to deter intruders and a minimum of 8 feet is needed. These are the letters. Metro's crime prevention specialist came out after an act of arson on a nearby property and this letter, and this is the private security letter. Thank you. That concludes.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. Laura, so just to get this clear tonight, because we did have a problem last month, and I apologize for holding it in abeyance, but so the fence is wrought iron, and it is going to be behind the landscape, not in front of the landscape, per the revised plan that you submitted a few days ago on July the 6th, I believe. That was unfortunately not represented in my backup, but was confirmed today by Peter Lowenstein that in fact is where the fence is going.
Correct. We
So
are
for
moving
the
it away
record-
from the back of sidewalk, 8 feet inland into the property behind the landscaping berm.
Okay, so the fence goes behind the landscaping. Thank you, Laura.
Any other comments? Can we get a motion?
Yeah, with that, I'm going to make a motion for approval of abeyance item variance 69639, noting that the fence will be behind the landscaping and not in front. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that will be final action unless appealed in 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item 24, abeyance SDR 68686, applicant owner Market Street Summerlin, RE LLC, for possible action on a request for site development plan review for proposed 72-bed convalescent care facility nursing home with a waiver to allow a 0-foot perimeter landscape buffer where 8 feet is required on the north property line, a 2-foot perimeter landscape buffer where 8 feet is required on a portion of the west property line, a 6-foot perimeter landscape buffer where 8 feet is required on the east property line, and a 10-foot perimeter landscape buffer where 15 feet is required on a portion of the south property line at 7540 Smoke Ranch Road, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed use is appropriate for the location, and the site was previously approved for a convalescent care facility in 2015. However, no permits were issued and the entitlement expired. Unlike the current proposal, the previous entitlement for a convalescent care facility did not require any waivers of development standards. In addition to the waivers of landscaping, the proposed site layout does not provide a turnaround for emergency vehicles at the rear of the site. A condition has been added to require the applicant to record a perpetual easement to allow access to the cul-de-sac bulb on the property to the north prior to the issuance of any building permits. This condition would ensure that the health and safety of the future residents is protected. Staff is recommending denial of the current proposal due to the multiple waivers of the perimeter landscaping requirements that are requested.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Tony Celeste, address 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. If I can direct your attention to the overhead. You can see the aerial we have. The property is about 2.2 acres, located on Smoke Ranch, just east of Buffalo. As mentioned previously, this was approved for a 2-story, 80-bed convalescent care facility. What we're coming in is asking, instead of to go vertical, to go horizontal. We're asking for a single-story memory care facility that'll have 60 bedrooms with 72 beds. It is the applicants, when they're in this business of memory care, they find that a single-story building is much more conducive to the residents than a 2-story, and therefore that's why they're going with what is a larger footprint with the being single-story versus 2-story, but yet a less dense product because it's 60 bedrooms as opposed to the 80 that was previously approved. With respect to the landscaping, that's what we're asking for, is some forgiveness on the landscaping and asking for this body to consider alternative what we're doing because we're going vertical. First, I want to point out that the amount of landscaping that is required under Title 19 is being provided on the site. We're just providing it in different areas. Most notably is the 0-foot landscaping along the northern property line there. We have a drive aisle there that we need for the back, but what we are doing instead is putting the landscaping along our north face of our elevation there. That ranges anywhere from about 15 to 20 feet. So we think that basically the intent of having the landscaping along the entire perimeter is met. We have landscaping also along our east, southern, and western perimeters. Again, the average depth of those is greater than 8 feet on our west and eastern property lines and more than 15 feet on the southern property line. So because of the fact that we're going vertical, we were asking for some concessions with respect to how we've laid out the landscaping, but not asking for any concession with respect to the amount of landscaping. With respect to the drive aisle and the turnaround, we could not accommodate the city-approved turnaround, so what we have done is worked with our property owners to the north, the technology park, to gain access and utilize that through a crash gate in the cul-de-sac bulb. Again, we are in agreement with that condition, and our plan now reflects that. Further, we're in agreement with all the other, if approved, conditions, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. This was noticed as public hearing. Anyone want to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission, and starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Celeste, for coming back. The landscape was an issue just simply because of a slight misunderstanding. I appreciate you taking the month, meeting with the councilwoman, and again, meeting with me. Therefore, if nobody else has any discussion, Would you have any discussion?
No, please make a motion.
Thank you. My motion will be for approval on abeyance item SDR 68686, noting all conditions, and especially the trash, the crash gate, and it's real important, and that's it.
Understood and agreed to.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
My motion is for approval.
Thank you. Please cast your votes. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office in 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to related items 25 and 26, abeyance MOD 70292, applicant, the Kalita Group LLC, owner RA Southeast Land Company LLC, for possible action on a request for a major modification of the Las Vegas Renaissance Master Development Plan and Development Standards dated April 15th, 2011, to amend the land use plan and the development standards at the southeast corner of Alta Drive and Rampart Boulevard, Ward 2, Beers. Staff recommends approval. Abeyance item SDR 70293 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a 359-unit multifamily residential development, Ward 2, Beers. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed development standards would regulate development on the southeast corner of Alta Drive and Rampart Boulevard, excuse me, including the proposed 359-unit multifamily residential complex on the east portion of that property. The proposed development standards rely heavily on Title 19, but allow some flexibility in the uses that are allowed. The majority of specific standards for the development will be set at the time of site development plan review for each portion of the site's development. The proposed apartment complex will step back to meet the residential adjacency requirements and to provide a transition, an appropriate transition to the single-family development to the east. Landscape buffers are provided along the east property line in accordance with the proposed development standards. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the major modification and the site development plan review. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good evening, sir.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. My name is Tony Celeste, address 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant, the Kalita Group. If I can point your attention to the overhead. We are here before you regarding a major modification to development standards and then a site plan review for the 15 acres of the eastern portion of this site, generally located at Rampart and Alta. I'm going to break my presentation up into a couple of different components. First, I want to give you a little background about the Kalita Group, who they are, what they've done over the last 10 years. Number two, go over the background and history of this 23 acres and a little bit larger and how it relates to the whole Boca Park and Tivoli Village. And then number three, get into a little bit more of the specifics of what we're amending and then the site plan itself. First, the Kalita Group was founded about 10 years ago. The two partners, two main principals, are Doug Eisner and Eric Cohen. They were both, prior to developing the Kalita Group, with nationally branded multifamily developers. Both had relocated out to Las Vegas, and they were competitors in the Las Vegas market for developing multifamily units. Both of them had the same desire, same goal. Both thought that they could do it better, could provide a luxury apartment lifestyle that was not previously provided in Las Vegas, felt that that was an untapped market, that a market that they could delve into and grow. And if you're doing the math, 10 years ago, 2007, 2008, obviously were difficult economic times, and little did they know they were jumping into what was going to be an economic disaster. But through quality work, strong perseverance, and just identifying the right properties, they have succeeded. They have developed many of the most luxurious apartments that we know of today. For example, if you go out into Henderson and Green Valley, there's the district at Green Valley, a beautiful walkable community located adjacent to the district, providing a mixed-use feel and walkability, something we think that is very analogous to this situation, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. Another one is the Elysian West. It's located near Tropicana and the 215. Again, a larger scale product that provides high-end luxury living. And then their most recent one to come online, located in downtown Summerlin, fairly close to this product, Charleston, or on Town Center, just south of Charleston. Again, a very luxurious lifestyle. This is meant for basically people who choose to rent versus choosing to buy. They cater to a young professional crowd that is mobile, that likes to sometimes move, and essentially likes to have all services at their hands. If a light bulb goes out, they call the manager, the light bulb is replaced. There's dry cleaning available, dry cleaning services to have your dry cleaning taken care of. A nice gym, workout facilities, clubhouse facilities, all provided within that lifestyle. And the people that live there, they pay for that, and essentially they're getting almost $2 a square foot. So when you think about it, if you're going to rent a 900-foot unit, one-bedroom unit, that's they're getting about $1,700, $1,800 a month for that unit. And then there are larger units that have some of their loft features that are anywhere from 1,700 to 1,800 square feet, getting over $3,000 per month. So we're talking about, in many cases, larger than mortgage payments. So this is a lifestyle that people choose to, and this is a market that Kalitta has tapped into. So with that background, I wanted to give you what the quality of development that we are proposing with respect to the easternmost 15 acres. Now, as I said, let me delve a little bit more into this project here and the overall 23 acres. Originally, this 23 acres was part of a larger 42-acre, Boca Park 3 was what it was called. About 18 or 19 of those acres have developed out. For example, this is the Cheesecake Factory over here, Kahuna Grill, the lifestyles or living spaces. This is what's developed out in that 18 or 19 acres. The balance of that 23 and a half acres was ultimately subdivided and sold off. In 2011, that 23 acres came before the city under a revised development standards, which is now known as the Renaissance Plan. That Renaissance Plan was approved for about 1 million square feet of development that consisted of 775,000 square feet of commercial, retail, office uses, and then the balance, about 250,000 for residential uses. That is the plan that is currently approved and in place. Just to give you an idea, this is the conceptual plan that was approved as part of that backup. This is essentially what a developer could come in under the current development standards and develop something basically very similar to this. This outlines the approximate 1 million square foot usage here. You can see large, big box anchor retail with smaller retail, restaurant uses, and then residential components. So this is what we are seeking to modify, and by modifying it, this would be expunged. What we're proposing is to, we believe, something a little bit less dense, something that is more appropriate now for the area since it's been developed. As I mentioned, this is the 23 acres, all of it. What we're doing is asking to do a couple of things. One, with respect to the modification, instead of the 775,000 square feet of commercial, retail, office use, we're capping that at 300,000 square feet. So already a dramatic difference with respect to that. We are also doing a couple other things with respect to the residential use. As you can see, in conjunction with this, we have a site development plan review, which is reflected on this 15 acres. That 15 acres is now going to become the predominant residential component. We are proposing 359 units in this, at this location. It's going to be anywhere from a 2 to 4 story building. It's going to have interior hallways with elevators to all the floors. Some of the improvements that we have done, if you're familiar with the site, there is currently a driveway right here that exits out onto Alta. Because of the median there, you do not have turning points all turning points at this location. You cannot make a left onto Alta to then get to Rampart. Everything is forced down Alta to the right to Durango. What we're doing is removing this driveway, relocating it to the current traffic signalization that connects to Tivoli right here. We believe that this frees up the intersection and greatly improves traffic circulation in this area, provides turning movements left and right. And when we had a couple of neighborhood meetings, we've had meetings with the folks basically to the east of us, the Tuscany Hills, Tuscany Hills North HOA, and then the Angel Park ARC. Both of those thought that this realignment and utilization of this traffic signal would greatly improve their traffic conditions further down on Alta, because it would make Alta more usable to go left and down Rampart. So those are some of the, one of the highlights that I want to point out. Additionally, with respect to the site plan, as mentioned, 359 units. Very important, what we're doing is we're maintaining this 125-foot buffer zone here. In addition to that, there is an additional 60-foot no-build zone. These are important conditions that were agreed to back in 2011 under the Renaissance Plan. These are conditions that we are carrying forward and agreeing to, and in fact, we are enhancing the landscaping that is currently out there. As I mentioned, this portion right here then is about 225, 250 feet to the nearest residential, and this portion right here will be 4-story product. Right in this area, this pink is going to be a 15 to 17,000 square foot clubhouse and gym for the residents. In this area right here, we have additional units, and this is the part where we've been, we've been sensitive in the entire project, but this part right here, since the parcel is skinnies, we've taken into consideration that. So what we've done is on this portion, the eastern portion, it is 2 stories, and we tier it back from there. So we go from 2 stories to 3 stories, and then 4 stories as you go further west and into the commercial area. This 2 stories right here matches the heights that would be the 2-story single family just to the east of us, providing intense landscaping 15 feet along there, additional parking, so we've pushed it back. One of the important things to remember is that in the development standards themselves, we're required to, at all times, comply with the residential adjacency standards, and in this case, we are, and by doing so, we're tiering this back. Like I said, this is we think a quality product, a quality developer, builder coming in. With respect to the 7 acres here, they're within the major modification. This will have to come back as a site development plan review. You will have the ability to see what is developed here. Again, there's certain caps. We know that there's not going to be any more than 300,000 square foot of retail. We know that they have to meet residential adjacency standards. Additionally, the design standards are going to have to be met. You can see, for example, our elevations. We're keeping with the French or Mediterranean theme that has been developed by Tivoli there. So we have that, and that is something that in the future this 7 acres will have to comply with. And finally, I think what's most important is this is a planned development, so that means, providing a mixed use and walkability, and that is what this project, we think, accomplishes. Here I have an overlay we've done right here, and white is our site in the 15 acres, and what we're trying to show here is basically the commercial uses around us. We have Tivoli across the street, Boca Park, Suncoast, to be developed commercial in the future. What the red shows is basically the various pedestrian and vehicular accesses throughout the site, the connectivity to all of the areas around us. We have, as I mentioned, our main entrance off of Alta, but we have many secondary entrances, including right here. You can get off of from Rampart with respect to where the Cheesecake Factory is, make your way into the development this way. If you wanted to access from Charleston, there's ability to come back and access this way. We have many internal drive aisles, pedestrian connectivity. It's an infill parcel. We feel that ultimately it's compatible. Again, I want to thank your staff, in particular Mr. Lowenstein, Mr. Bankston, for working with us for several months in developing this, helping us realize the best way to amend the Renaissance Plan, file this site development review, and I think based on that months of work, what you see in the staff report is an approval. So we have done everything we can. I appreciate the neighbors that met with us, that met us on site at the Constellation, at Charleston and Town Center, so they could actually see what the amenities are, what it is the developer is providing, And with that, I am more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. This was noticed as public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with the Commissioner Trowbridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I had the pleasure of sitting on the commission in April of 2011, where we had, if I recall correctly, was multiple public hearings where the people with the adjoining HOAs came and spoke their piece regarding the landscaping and the setbacks and traffic problems. We wound up reaching agreement and approving a development plan that is now being requested that we modify. The modifications that are being made are enhancements to what was previously approved. I took the opportunity to tour a similar facility just a few miles away and was really impressed with it. I think what they're trying to provide here is a contemporary styled high-end rental units that are just beyond what anything that we've seen, certainly in this neighborhood. And you're going to see my support in this item, and if we don't have any other comments, I can make a
I do have one
Please.
question, Commissioner, for the applicant. You said that you're moving the drive entrance over, but as I recall, there's some existing ramp that goes up into Boca Park. Are you planning on moving that or leaving that, or?
The ramp, the ramp is not, the ramp and the parking garage is not part of any of this 23 acres.
Oh, okay.
I think it is, yeah, so we have nothing to do with that portion
Okay,
of it.
all right. Thank you. No
Thank
further
Yeah, the
questions.
parking garage and the ramp and all that is not part of this project, not part of the 23 acres.
Okay,
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just a
Yes.
quick comment.
please.
I just want to say that when something is conducive to three corners and it's going to match and look the same, I think it's a grand development. And I think as a planning commissioner, you learn a lot up here, and the one thing I've learned is to be able to look at different separate applications from separate developers. So my point is, this is a great application. It meets the needs, and anything that goes on that corner, people have to understand, is going to increase the traffic. So I look forward to supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Trowbridge?
Okay, without further discussion, then, in regards to item number 25, modification 70292, make a recommendation to support staff's recommended approval.
Motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
In regards to item number 26, which is site development review 70293, make a motion to support staff's recommendation for approval.
Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just wanted to also acknowledge Commissioner Trowbridge and Commissioner Moody. I understand this potentially is your last meeting. I want to thank you for your years of service. It's been a pleasure to be before Commissioner Moody for 7+ years and Commissioner Trowbridge on and off for almost a dozen years. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, those items 25 and 26 will move forward to City Council at the August 16, 2017 council meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item 33 and 34, GPA 70682, applicant owner, Apricot Fingers Corporation Qualified Retirement Trust, for possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from PF Public Facilities to ML Medium Low Density Residential on the north side of Bonanza Road, east of Decatur Boulevard, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Item number 34, ZON 70683, for possible action on a request for rezoning from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Medium Low Density Residential, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, as public or quasi-public uses are no longer contemplated on this site, ML, medium low density residential designation, would be compatible with the adjacent designations and zoning districts. As an infill flag parcel, the site is appropriate for residential development of comparable density to the surrounding developments. The R2 medium-low density residential zoning district allows for medium to low density single-family detached units and duplex units, both of which occur on land to the west. No multifamily units are allowed. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the general plan amendment and rezoning. Please note that there were additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Csaba Meisberger, 4412 West Bonanza. I
Thank you.
represent Apricot Fingers LLC.
Okay.
And I'd like to request your help and approval for the agenda.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission. John Hamilton, John R. Hamilton Enterprises, civil engineer. The project development is located on the north side of Bonanza, and it is proposed to build 9 buildings, 3,400 square feet, as individual attached single-family residential structures. And we've had a neighborhood meeting on June 20th, and there was overwhelming favor for the project. So respectfully, we request approval.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Starting with Commissioner Trowbridge.
There are no questions. I understand the proposal, and it has the staff support, so I would make a recommendation in regards to item 33, General Plan Amendment 70-682, make a recommendation for approval subject to all staff conditions.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
In regards to item number 34, zoning 70-683, I make a motion for approval subject to all staff conditions.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, both of those items, 33 and 34, will go to City Council at the August 16, 2017 City Council meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to related items 35 through 38. Item 35, GPA 70722, applicant Nancy Crow, owner H Factor Limited Partnership, for possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from R Rural Density Residential to SC Service Commercial at 6050 West Lone Mountain Road, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Item 36, ZON 70723, for possible action on a request for rezone from RE Residential Estates to C1 Limited Commercial, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Item 37, VAR 70724, for possible action on a request for variance to allow 23 parking spaces where 39 spaces are required, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. And then finally, 38, SUP 70725, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for pet boarding use, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to convert the existing building at 6050 West Lone Mountain Road from a child care center into a pet boarding facility. The proposed land use designation and zoning are incompatible with the rural properties to the north and east, which are developed with a rural preservation neighborhood. A pet boarding use is a conditional use in the C1 zoning district. The applicant has chosen not to comply with the minimum conditions for that use, specifically the condition requiring outdoor pet areas to be set back 50 feet from residential properties, hence the special use permit application. The site is already developed with an existing building, a fenced-in outdoor space, and parking lot. The parking lot provides only 23 spaces where 39 are required. Staff recommends denial of the applications. If approved, the Department of Public Works would like to add a condition regarding storm water quality. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you. Lucian?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. If approved, we'd like to add to item 38, SUP 70725, the following condition: meet with the sanitary sewer planning section 702-229-6541 and the environmental compliance section 702-229-6200 of the Department of Public Works to determine what modifications, if any, need to be made to the proposed outdoor dog play area to comply with stormwater quality requirements. Any required improvements must be made prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Nancy Crow, 9109 Golden Eagle Drive.
Hi, good evening, Chairman and council members. I'm Daniel Crow, address 9109 Golden Eagle Drive. We're currently in the process of acquiring a building at 6050 West Lone Mountain, which for the past 23 years is operated as a commercial child care facility with a variance. And we're simply asking that we're going to be able to repurpose the facility to a pet daycare and boarding facility. Located immediately to the west of the building is a storage facility, and just on the other side of that at the intersection of Lone Mountain and Jones is a 7-Eleven. And then immediately to our north, we have our adjoining neighbors, which we went and met with, and they have no opposition to the change in use. And immediately to the east of the property, we have a residential building that appears to be abandoned. We held a neighborhood meeting, and we had 21 people show up, and out of that, we had no opposition at the meeting, and out of the 232 mailers that went out, we received 0 protests. Again, it's important to note, really, we're only asking to change the use of the property. We'd be opening at 6:30 a.m., closing at 6:30 p.m., so the hours would be staying the same. The outdoor area where the dogs would be playing would be wrapping up at 5 o'clock, so our last outdoor play session ends at 5 p.m., so there wouldn't be any animals out past 5. We are requesting a parking variance to allow 23 parking spaces where 39 are required. And while I understand and respect the staff's recommendation, I'd like to note that due to the nature of the business, we don't have much need for parking, considering that it is very much pick up and drop off. Most drop-offs occur in the early morning hours, pickups in the evening, and we only have 6 employees that will be parking in the back along the east wall, so the front parking spot would be all available to the clients. And currently, the parking lot has supported a child care center for the last 23 years that has had 298 students enrolled on a daily basis. And we actually have a letter from the current owners stating that they've never had any parking issues to date. Also, I'd like to note, assuming a successful close of escrow, we'd be resurfacing and restriping, and as well as upgrading the current handicap parking to meet all the ADA standards of compliance. We also requested a special use permit to waive the 50-foot required setback for the outdoor play area. And again, while I understand and respect the planning staff's recommendation, this area has been utilized as a recess area for the last 23 years for over nearly 300 children. As I previously mentioned, or need to get to that, we have a maximum occupancy of 70 kennels. And in those 70 kennels, we break up the play groups into small, medium, and large animals. So assuming we are operating at maximum capacity, the most animals that would be outside in the play yard at any given time would be right at 23 animals. So all in all, we believe we'd be drastically reducing the commercial impact on the use of the site while also providing a needed service to the surrounding neighborhood. That's about all I have for you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions, and it's been a privilege to come here and speak before all of you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. This was noticed as public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion, starting with Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my understanding this is this young man's first time ever presenting before a board like this, and I thought it was an excellent presentation, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Considering what is surrounding you, this is a unique parcel. The neighbor to your to the east, I agree, it looks like it's abandoned. If it's not, maybe it should be. And with the support of your neighbors on the north side, I think this is a good use for this application. I would note we did get 4 protests in since the final agenda was printed, but there was no dissent at the neighborhood meeting, and you're going to see my support on this. Thank you. And by the way, just my biggest concern was with regard to parking. And I think the nature of the business is unlike a school where you're going to have, a rush at 2 times of the day for drop-off and pickup. I think you can expect, due to the nature of this, that you're going to see pickup and drop-off throughout the day. So I'm convinced that the parking is not going to be that big of an issue. So for that reason, you'll see my support.
Thank you.
I do have one question for the applicant. I'm looking at the floor plan. It looks like the play yard's in the center of the building. So are the dogs ever going outside to the back patio, or are they pretty much staying inside once they show up?
So if you're looking at the current floor plan that's in there, we have an indoor play area that kind of like will serve for the summer months where it's a little too warm. But there's also behind that is the outdoor play area. So we have an indoor as well as an outdoor play area.
Okay. And you wouldn't have any problem, you said that you're going to be shutting down at 5. Would you have any problem conditioning you'll shut down at a particular hour? That way dogs aren't outside barking or playing late at night?
Right, yeah. All animals are brought in after 5 p.m.
Okay.
We don't bring any other dogs into the facility after 6 p.m. and we close to the public at 6:30. So after 5 is more bringing them in, getting them ready to turn into bed, doing final cleanings, and kind of shutting down the facility.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Quinn? Commissioner Toussaint?
Through you, Mr. So will you be boarding also? So you'll have animals that will stay there overnight or something like that?
Yes, daycare and boarding, and then ancillary grooming and training as well.
And you're open 7 days a week, is that right, including holidays?
Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday.
We're closed Sundays.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I think Commissioner Cherry will agree with me that in Chicago, this is a big thing, and my hope for you, Mr. Crow, is that you grow so big that you move something like this to Trinity Schlotman's ward downtown, because I'm not kidding. My daughter drops her dog off at daycare so she can go to work, and it's an amazing thing. It's like a trend, and it's happening versus leaving it at the vet or overnight, and I just think the personal touch is outstanding. And secondly, I love to see a native Las Vegan that stays home, enriches our community with a great business, and I wish you nothing but the best, and you will see my support this evening.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Commissioner Quinn. I'd like to see one in my ward.
I think so.
Commissioner Moody.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion if that's
Please do.
okay. Regarding item 35, GPA 70722, my motion is for approval, subject to all conditions.
Please cast your vote. Please post. That motion carries.
Item 36, ZON 70723, my motion is for approval.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Item 37, VAR 70724, motion is for approval.
Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
And finally, item 38, SUP 70725, my motion is for approval with 2 conditions. The first, as stated by Public Works regarding the stormwater quality, and a second condition as to closing time. I know the applicant stated 5 o'clock. I think that's a little early. I'd be
agree.
willing to go as late as 8 o'clock. I don't think that seems unreasonable, if my fellow commissioners agree.
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure the applicant is willing to, one, agree to the stormwater quality condition that was previously stated.
Yes.
And secondly, you would agree that there would be no animals in the yard after 8 p.m. every night?
Yes.
Okay. So those are my conditions and my motion.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 35, 36, 37, and 38 will go to the City Council meeting of August 16, 2017.
Thank you. Moving on to item 41, ZON 70650, applicant Fisher Brothers, owner Integral Partners Park Place Center, Las Vegas LLC, for possible action on a request for a rezone from C1 limited commercial to C2 general commercial at the southwest corner of Sirius Avenue and Rancho Drive, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. And related item 42, SDR 70652, applicant Fisher Brothers, owner Integral Partners Park Place Center, Las Vegas LLC, and others, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 146,494 square foot commercial recreational amusement indoor and outdoor development with waivers to allow a building to not be oriented to the corner and street frontages where such is required, a non-coherent building design with no changes in wall plane or color, in large windowless areas, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. Can we get a staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, a rezoning from C1 to C2 is requested in order to allow both an indoor and outdoor commercial recreation amusement use on the subject site. Although the C2 zoning district is more intense than the current zoning district, it is nonetheless less intense than the surrounding parcels zoned M, and staff recommends approval of the rezoning. Given that the building is intended to fit the stated science fiction theme of the amusement park, the request for a waiver of the required design elements is appropriate. Also, for this particular use, placing the building at the street frontages like a typical commercial or office building does not serve the purpose or the purpose of the development. Most of the parking is still located to the side and rear of the building, and the proposed building placement allows the applicant to utilize the existing service road for loading purposes. Staff therefore recommends approval of the waiver for the building placement. Under the SDR, staff does not support the requested exception to allow 17 trees within the parking lot where 204 trees are required. Staff recommends that the exception be denied and that additional trees be provided within the parking lot planters. If the exception is denied, staff recommends that condition number 6 be amended to the following. Each pair of parking lot landscape figures that feature an artistic vignette as depicted in the exhibit shall contain at least one 24-inch box tree. Altogether, all other parking lot landscaping shall be provided in conformance with Title 19 requirements. Please note that condition number 3 should also be amended to the following. All development shall be in conformance with the site plan date stamped 5/23/17, landscape plan dated date stamped 6/13/17, and building elevations date stamped 5/23/17 and 6/13/17, except as amended by conditions herein.
Thank you. And good evening.
Good evening, Jennifer Lazovich, here tonight representing the applicant and developer of this project, the Fisher family.
Ms. Lazovich, could we get your address?
Yes, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive.
Thank you.
As staff indicated, we appreciate the staff recommendation of approval for the zone change, so I won't spend any time talking about that. I'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking about the requested waiver for the parking lot trees. As indicated in your staff report, this is an exciting project, one that Las Vegas hasn't seen before, and I would venture to guess one that actually hasn't been built anywhere that I'm aware of in the surrounding states. And it is intended to be what is described in your staff report as a zombie apocalyptic themed type of building, where on the inside it is going to have a number of uses that draw in people who are interested in virtual reality, e-gaming, cine lounges. There will be a food component, a number of lounge components, outdoor amphitheater. It brings all of that together, and it's very exciting, and it's intended to draw people, not only locals, but as well as people and visitors who come here from the Strip. So Along that line, we have a very unique building design, as I just described. And as a result, we are asking that the exterior in the parking lot match the look, if you will, of the building. And to do that, we are asking for an exception/waiver to do the total number of trees that we would typically have if this was any other kind of project. But instead, and this has been in your backup, these parking vignettes would show you representative ideas of what we would choose to do on the parking lot fingers instead of just your traditional landscaping with a tree, et cetera. We agree with staff's, if approved, conditions. We do agree with the amended condition to number 3. However, this was the first time I was hearing the amended condition to, I believe, number 6. So I might need to ask staff to read that again. But I would like to just provide you with the justification as to the reason why we're asking to reduce the number of trees is to go with the overall theme of this project. It has a very, very distinct theme, and it is intentionally meant to look the way that it would in the parking lot. And to the extent that my opinion matters, I think it looks pretty cool to have it all match that way with these parking vignettes. So we agreed with condition number 6 as written, but then I just heard for the first time something new.
If I could ask staff to reread the amended condition number 6.
Yes, Chairman. The revised condition, actually the condition as it states in the staff report, it would allow only 17 trees where 204 is required. Staff is asking that the exception be denied and that the condition be amended that states each pair of the parking lot landscape fingers that feature an artistic vignette as depicted in the exhibit shall contain at least one 24-inch box tree. All other parking lot landscaping shall be provided in conformance with Title 19 requirements. And with that, basically, it would then the exception would have 145 trees where 204 is required.
Thank you. That was very helpful. So we would like to respectfully stick with and present and ask you to consider the design and the exception that we've asked for with the condition as it's worded in your SDR 70652 today. Again, we, as I mentioned before, believe wholeheartedly in this design. We're not trying to get out of landscaping. We are just trying to stick with the theme of what the building looks like and the exterior of that.
Okay, thank you. This was noticed as public hearing. Anyone want to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action.
I'll start.
Starting with Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm afraid if I voted against this, my 25-year-old may never speak to me again. He's certainly going to want to do this when he comes to town. Love the idea. I remember several years ago when the container park came before this board, and it was completely out of the box and new thinking, and it's been very successful. I'm also glad you're sticking to your guns on the landscaping because I think it adds an element that that you don't get without that. So I think it's great. You'll see my support on this.
Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, you will also see my support this evening on this project, requiring that in between now and council you will hold a neighborhood meeting.
Yes, we will agree to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When do you hope to be open?
Delivering space to tenants November of 2018.
Thank you. Commissioner Toussaint.
I have a 21-year-old grandson, and I ran this by him today. He's visiting from California, and if I didn't vote for this, he probably wouldn't come visit me anymore. I think the project is wonderful, and I love this project. I think it's great. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, my motion tonight is for approval of zoning 70650. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
And Thank you. Regarding SDR 70652, my motion is for approval, adding the condition, as we agreed, Jen, that you will hold a neighborhood meeting in between now and city council. I think
Yes, I
Mr.
will.
I think it should be on the other one.
Just to say that that's more of a recommendation versus a condition.
Oh, I'm
that they'll
sorry,
hold
yeah,
it.
the recommendation would be
and
that
then-
you, yeah.
Sorry, and then the amended condition for the date stamp correction as read by staff.
And we do agree to that.
Okay, thank you very much. So my
Thank you.
motion is for approval on SDR 70652.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, items 41 and 42 will go forward to the city council meeting on August 16th, 2017.
Thank you.
very much. And to Commissioner Moody and Commissioner Trowbridge, always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you outside these chambers.
Thank you.
Moving on to related items 43 and 44. 43, ZON 70727, applicant owner, John Taylor Living Trust, for possible action on a request for a rezone from C1 Limited Commercial to C2 General Commercial at 1920 West Bonanza Road, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Item 44, SUP 70728, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a motor vehicle sales used use, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is a request for a rezoning and special use permit for a proposed 441 square foot motor vehicle sales used use within a portion of an existing 1,210 square foot office building located at 1920 West Bonanza Road. The proposed rezoning conforms with the mixed-use general plan designation, and the motor vehicle sales used use is permitted in the C2 zoning district with the approval of a special use permit. The proposed use meets all the minimum requirements for said special use permit. Staff has added a condition of approval, which will require the applicant to install an 8-foot landscape buffer along the north property line with 24-inch box trees every 20 linear feet and 4 shrubs per tree prior to the issuance of a business license for this use. Staff recommends approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Richard Smith, excuse me, Richard Smedley, 1895 Michael Way, representing John Taylor. The applicant agrees to the conditions, and we would respectfully ask for approval by the commission.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'll just go ahead and start and say that I think staff got it right. It's right in the middle of the commercial district, right around Ahern, and a lot of businesses around there, so I don't have any issue with this. Vice Chair Cherry.
Through the chair, if there's no further discussion, I'm prepared for motion on the items.
Please do.
Item number 43, ZON 70727, make a motion for approval.
Motion's on the floor for approval. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 44, SUP 70728, make a motion for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion's on the floor for approval, subject to staff's conditions. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, items 43 and 44 will move forward to the city council meeting on August 16th, 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 45, VAR 70791, applicant owner, DREA 357 LLC, for possible action on a request for variance to allow 8-foot tall wrought iron fence in the front yard area where maximum 5 feet is allowed at 2020 West Bonanza Road, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. 46, SDR 70792, for possible action on a request for a major amendment to a previously approved site development plan review, SDR 48811, for an existing delivery and service vehicle storage yard with waivers to allow a 0-foot wide landscape buffer along the north, west, and east property lines where 8 feet is required, a 0-foot wide landscape buffer along the south property line where 15 feet is required, and to allow a chain link perimeter fence with slats. Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. Can we have a staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance and a site development plan review for the existing delivery and service vehicle storage use with waivers of the landscape buffers, chain link fence with slats, and wall height over 5 foot tall in the front yard setback on a property located at 2020 West Bonanza Road. Staff finds that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship, and the variance waivers and landscape exceptions would allow development that is incompatible with the adjacent parcels and surrounding neighborhood. Staff recommends denial of the project. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. James Lopez, 6725 Southeastern Avenue, on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for letting us come before you tonight. If you read the staff report in the backup, and if it was an essay or a term paper, you'd find a lot of comments in the marginalia. But essentially it boils down to, we've got a commercial site in the middle of a commercial zone, and what we're proposing is essentially what people are doing across the street, namely Ahern, and we've got commercial on 3 sides, and on the 4th side, we've got one of the property owners here in support of this item. So we have read the if approved conditions, and we agree with them, and we respectfully request approval.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Vice Chair Cherry. I know Mr. Lopez, and we've worked on many projects together, and we still have a open project, the Fremont Street Lofts, and I'm not sure if we'll need your services on that project in the future to close it out, so out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to abstain on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you through the chair. We'll open it up for public hearing. If anyone would like to come to the podium and talk? Your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Lee Calcaterra. I'm at the 721 Clarkway Drive. My property in the far back, I call it the back 40. There's a fence line that touches his property. I see no use of putting a fence there or a wall there. I like it the way it is. I can understand DeMarco's, that he may even want one, but I don't need one there.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard in this public hearing portion? Seeing no one else, we'll close this portion and turn it over to the fellow commissioners. Any discussion from our commissioners? Commissioner Moody.
Can you tell us whether you've had a neighborhood meeting on this?
We have not. And we have 3 adjacent neighbors. The owner of the property, Mr. Caracota is one of them. There's another neighbor. There's 2 other neighbors.
Can I ask you to speak a little closer to your microphone so I can hear you?
The answer is no, we have not. But of the adjacent neighbors, 3 of them, one of them is here tonight, and 2 others know what's going on with the property.
Okay. And is the one that's here tonight speaking in favor of this, or?
That's correct. And the other neighbor that's to the north and to the east, they actually have a block wall, but it's only 6 feet high, and there was some discussion in the past about adding a couple blocks to it to get it to the 8 feet high, but the block wall just wouldn't support it. It's old, and there's no easy way to do that, and that's part of why this application has come forward the way it has.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Thanks. I'm of the opinion, we just looked at an application that was brought forward and had them put in the landscape buffer on the 8-foot amenity zone. I see the request for the chain link fence with the slot fencing. I just know what happens to that, and I can see it in one of the pictures already. It deteriorates over time, which just seems to cause a further problem. So I'm of the opinion that I think staff has this right, and I'm going to be standing with the recommendation at this point. If there's any further discussion, I'd like to make a motion. Item number 45.
Actually, you're chairing, so I don't think you can.
Pardon me.
So I'd be happy to make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Moody.
Item 45, VAR 70791, motion is to follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion for denial carries, noting Chairman Schlotman's abstention.
And item 46, SDR 70792, motion is to, again, follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion carries, noting Chairman Schlotman's abstention. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, those items, 45 and 46, will go forward to City Council at the 8/16/2017 council meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item 51, VAR 70643, applicant Ray Grabble, owner Barry Schultz, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 5-foot rear yard setback where 10 feet is required for a possible accessory structure, for a proposed accessory structure, Class 2 garage at 4013 Tyler William Lane, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to permit a proposed garage that does not meet the minimum setback requirements. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary hardship to justify the request has been presented, and staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Please note that the ward should be noted as Ward 5. Also, that there were additional letters of support and protest since publication.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Before we hear from the applicant, I want to state that I not only live within the notification area on both items 51 and 52, I actually live in this neighborhood on both of these applications. I think I could be fair, but I'm going to abstain out of an abundance of caution and to avoid the appearance of any impropriety, especially amongst my neighbors and friends. So I'll be abstaining on both items. And if I can just ask the city attorney, is it okay if I sit out on both, or do I need to come back and restate my?
No, that's okay. Commissioner, we can have the clerk's office put your abstention on both items.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moody. If you'll turn off your mic. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ray Grable. 7055 Windy Street. Here on behalf of the owner, Barry Schultz. And we're looking to place a accessory building in the backyard of his home, where at one time, prior to 2011, a 3-foot setback was the norm. In 2011, they changed it to a 10-foot setback, also allowing 2-story buildings, which in fact in this subdivision, the HOA does not allow 2-story buildings. So what we're asking is for a 5-foot setback, and that 5-foot setback does not interfere with any views because his back wall is quite high. I'd say close to 11 foot tall. It's a standard garage in the back, and Barry has had quite a bit of support from his neighbors, going around talking to them, and he's able to speak as well. If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioners, my name is Barry Schultz, 4013 Tyler William Lane. How we got here to this day was I moved into this neighborhood about 2 years ago, and about 1.5 years ago I started the process. This is the first time I've been involved with Homeowners Association. And speaking with the neighbors, even before I moved in, I was asking how things work and ran, and saw the neighborhood. And the neighborhood, it was built around in 1994. Last house I was in, I was there for 26.5 years. So we moved into this neighborhood, and like I said, about 1.5 years ago, I started this process with working with the ARC committee, where I needed to get all the surrounding neighbors to understand or see what I wanted to do. And I was able to get all of their signatures of approval. And then it took about 1 year before I finally found who I was going to go with to do the final construction. And during that time,
Out of all the neighbors that I had agreed that they felt they would not be impacted, the one who would probably be the most impacted, right behind us, they ended up moving in March. And so I was concerned, thinking, what do I do now? What if the new neighbors oppose and it's, not good for them? So we went and met those neighbors, Steve and Tori, and good couple. And when I saw that the staff had did a recommendation of denial, I had my wife want to find out real quickly, can you contact Tori real quick? Did they get information in the mail? And just sharing with you, I said, can you call them, see if they received anything in the mail? Would they oppose? So far, this is up for denial. She was able to call them, and she said, I called and talked to Tori. She said they did get the postcard, but didn't realize that they needn't do anything with it. She said, again, they do not oppose. If they want, they can call her, and she leaves her phone number. She said, once again, they confirm they do not oppose. Like I said, we have multiple homes in this neighborhood that currently have gone through the process of the art committee, got the approval of the association, went through the planning and permit of the city of Las Vegas, and currently sit on setbacks as little as 3 foot off the side and off the back walls. We're asking if it be possible that we have a 5-foot setback. Like, as I've been going through this with Ray and the information, it seems like our area got wrapped up into when there was a change in 2011, which allowed you to build a 2-story home. Hence, that was another reason why they wanted to push the setbacks farther away. In our development, just reaffirming with you that we cannot build 2 stories. It will not be taller than the house. It will comply with all other regulations that the city asked for. So I ask for your consideration in this setback. The garage has been slid over. The majority of it sits behind my house, and the greatest impact would be to our neighbor behind us, which they said they would be willing to come in or get their signatures upon it also.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. And if there's anybody else that wants to come forward, please come sit in the front row or come forward. If I could ask you 2 gentlemen to sit in the front row while these other people have the opportunity to speak. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name's Regan Orr. I live at 4016 Nancy Marguerite Lane. I live in the same development as this gentleman. I'm actually here for the next item because he's my neighbor, but I'm in opposition to this. The reason I'm in opposition to this is we've had no community meetings in our Property Owners Association. I bought there in 2000, 17 years ago. The reason I bought there was because the CCNRs clearly stated the rear setback is 30 feet in our CCNRs, 10 feet on the side. And I wanted that because I wanted the wide open ranchero style homes, big backyards, and I'm worried we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that environment if we allow people to build things in the backyard. I did go down to the planning department, building and safety, and the gentleman down there, the technician, looked up the actual affidavits that the builder submitted to the city, and he stated no add-on construction. So his intent was for small ranchero-style estates, wide open spaces. So that's what I'm in opposition to. I think his name is Mr. Schultz, Barry Schultz. I want to preserve our ranchero style living there. I have a petition in the next item. I went around the community. I've talked to many of the homeowners, and they feel the same way that I do. We feel let down by our board that we're not having meetings there and discussing these situations and trying to alleviate them, or there's ways that we can, work things out there in the community. I used to serve on the board about 6 years ago, as did this gentleman back here, Steve Richards. So I just wanted to let you know how I feel about it, and I want to preserve our wide open spaces. Thank you so much.
All right.
Stephen Richards,
4013 Nancy Marguerite. I'm just here to second everything Scott said. We did serve together on the board. The one thing that really is getting under my skin right now doesn't have anything to do specifically with this, but it's an architectural review board that is unelected. We don't know who they are, faceless, nameless people. It's just an architectural committee. I was denied a paint color on my door. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing structures go, petitions for structures to go up. I just want to follow what Scott said.
Thank you.
We didn't buy there in 2006 to watch the neighborhood just get developed in the backyards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to be heard? We have multiple microphones, so ma'am, please, ma'am, if you can just come forward. We have another microphone. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name's Jared McGrath, and I'm at 4000 Nancy Marguerite Lane. There are several other homes in the neighborhood that already have buildings that have smaller setbacks, as the petitioner had stated. I am in favor of approving the setback. I bought in the neighborhood so we could build a garage in our backyard one day as well, and I'd like to be able to do what other neighbors have already been able to do. I'm assuming that if it made it past the Architectural Review Board, that it at least looks like the home. It's not going to be 2 stories and stuff like that. So I am in favor of the building in this case and the next as well.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Marilyn Heisel, 5105 Misty Marie. I object strenuously to this. We all bought there because we had I live on a half-acre property. I like seeing everything all around me. I hate to see everybody building these buildings in the backyard. They're renting out some of these places, and we have parking problems when no one is supposed to be allowed to park on the street. Our board is not supporting us. They did not have any meetings to get anybody's opinions. They just went ahead and sent it to you guys. I don't know how that happened.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you.
Actually,
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Quinn, as we typically do, and as our rules of conduct state, typically we'll give the applicant a rebuttal. So if you can keep the rebuttal just to a minute or two.
I appreciate that. I hear the concerns of my fellow neighbors. None of them are on my street, but I understand a lot of them have been lifetime. They were first-time buyers. With the art committee, they do their job still. I was one time denied already because I had a different structure I was going to bring over, and they just want to make sure that everything complies with the city requirements. And I was turned down because it did not match the home. It had the wrong style of a roof pitch, and it was more of a barn look, and they said that won't go. So the art committee does try to do everything they can in their job, and is making sure that it is uniform, that all it is stays in ranch style. And just to reconfirm, when they purchased into that neighborhood and years ago, the original setbacks were 3 and 3. And hence, that's why other homes in our property were allowed that. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for 5. The only person that would significantly impact would be the people directly behind us, which is a separate community. It's not even our development. And so I just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. It's Mr. Schultz, right? So the people directly behind you, did you go visit with them and knock on, like, say, the 3 doors or the people behind you and talk to them about your structure?
The ones behind me is the full width of my property. So anybody else, the other ones even farther down, they would be 30 to 50 feet away from where the garage would even be. So we spoke with the house, and it's actually directly behind. To where in front, we do have, it's kind of an offset between those in front. So we had both the people in front.
My other question is, so you directly came to the Planning Commission, and with no disrespect to you, I don't live in an HOA. So is it the process that you should have gone to the HOA, had a meeting, and then come to us versus our meeting and these neighbors coming out, because my opinion is that when you have people that come out against something that seems simple to you, it's big to them. So as I sit here tonight, I don't want to approve or deny your project, but I think it would be just a nice and a healthy choice for you to take the month, meet with your neighbors, have the HOA, and come back, because it's rare that we see people come out against something like this, and it's also rare that it doesn't start in your HOA and your architectural board and then come to us. That's just my statement. I don't, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Quinn, it does go through our HOA first. Before I can even submit, I have to have their approval. and
Well,
that's
no
what-
disrespect to you, none of these people were invited to a meeting, so that's just my opinion. I'll let my other commissioners ask you some questions.
Commissioner Toussaint.
The way it works in an HOA is you have a board, and you do have an architectural review committee, and they review any improvements, whether it's paint, landscaping, things like that. It's very rare that you would have people come to that architectural meeting. It really is. It's unusual. That's really not how the process works. My question to you, sir, is you said there were other homes in your development that have a structure similar to this? Is that true?
Exactly. They also have typically two-car garages. That's about the size that I'm building. Along with the architectural requirements, the homes must be stuccoed and tiled to match the buildings. The paint schemes all have to match. So it has to go through that approval first. The homes that have been approved have prints that have all been approved and are as little as 3-foot setbacks. And then, like I said, in 2011, it was changed based on the size of our lots. But speaking with people down in the print department, they said that it encompasses other areas that allow you to build 2-story homes, which we do not have that in our area. We love it. It's all single-story. And nothing prevents me from really building the garage in the backyard. It's just the main requirement is I need to be 10 feet off my back wall. All I'm asking is, can it be 5?
I guess my thought process is, since there are some people that are in opposition, and it might not be a bad idea to meet with your neighbors and sit down and talk to them. That way they would feel better and you would feel better. That's not really the way the process works with architectural review committees in an HOA, but I think it would be a good idea to try it.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir, I can't have any other comments from the audience. But,
I'm ready to make a motion.
okay.
Is there anybody else that wants
Commissioner
to talk
Quinn?
about it? Or did you want to make a motion? Go ahead, Commissioner. I apologize.
Commissioner Toussaint.
On VAR 70643, I would like to obey this for 30, till the next planning commission.
I'd like to ask the applicant, are you willing to hold this in abeyance for 30 days?
We could do that.
Okay. Motion's on the floor to hold this in abeyance for 30 days. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Through the chair, if I may quickly.
Yes.
If there's a way that the applicant can bring in their letter of approval from the HOA, I think that would help out some, too.
Okay.
And also letters of support from each of your neighbors on the back and sides.
Sounds good.
Director?
Chair, with this being in abeyance, there is no additional
Yes, sorry. Thank you.
notification.
All right.
So just to re-verify, so to bring in confirmation of the HOA, and then the surrounding sides, front, and rear neighbors that it would most directly impact.
That would be highly recommended.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 52, VAR 71002, applicant owner. Yes.
Did you also want him to speak with his neighbors, other than the ones immediately adjacent, or?
Yes, I'd probably think that it'd be wise for you to get the contact information from the people here that's in opposition. And so, because we've heard their comments and they have some serious concerns, so I think it'd be smart on your part to talk to them and see if there's anything that you could do. All right, item 52, VAR 71002, applicant owner Ray W. Godfrey, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 3-foot side and rear yard setback where 10 feet is required for proposed accessory structure, Class 2 seated garage at 4100 Nancy Marguerite Lane, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to permit a proposed casita/garage that does not meet the minimum setback requirements. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary hardship to justify the request has been presented, and staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Please note that there were additional letters of support and protest since the publication.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Chairman. My name is Ray Godfrey, 4100 Nancy Marguerite Lane. I don't want to repeat a lot of the information that the board has already heard. My situation is very similar to my fellow neighbor. The only exception I would have to offer is that I did bring my approval letter with me. It is also included in my application packet from the HOA board and the Architectural Review Committee. I also have a petition that has the same verbiage on it as the cards that were mailed out, signed by 17 of my neighbors. So I have made my best attempt to work this through with my neighbors, although there are two sides to every story, so I'm here for help.
Okay, thank you. This was noticed as public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. If I could ask you to step back, sit in the front row or somewhere.
I'm at opposition. Well, the first thing,
If I
I
could
have
get your
a
name and
petition.
address for the record again, please. Can I get your name and address again?
Yeah, it's Regan Orr. ORR is the last name. My address is 4016 Nancy Marguerite Lane.
Thank you.
If you would like to see the CCNRs, I brought them with me. I have them. I have the setbacks, the rear setbacks. I don't know, you have I've never been here before.
Yes, we have a projector. We have a projector. If you see the...
Right here, or?
Yes.
But
if you look at the screen, you can...
It has front and rear yards. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
B is rear here. Now, on the next page, additions to original residence must be set back 30 feet from the rear property line and 10 feet from the side property line.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just for the record, the city isn't bound by those particular CCNRs. That's a private agreement between the resident and the HOA. So you, as a city planning entity, aren't
bound by those
rules.
I just wanted to show you that I do know what I'm talking about. I know what the
Yes.
CCRs are. I served on the board. You know, people saying it's 3 feet is not true. I want to submit this petition signed by 24, myself and my fellow homeowners, in opposition to Ray Godfrey's proposal to build that big garage and really an apartment on the back. I don't know who I give it to. To you, sir? Okay, thank you. And again, we've had no public meetings. I know I'm supposed to speak 3 minutes. I can't get it all out in 3 minutes, I don't think. But anyway, it's not going to go more than 5, I can tell you that. I went and I talked to the president of our HOA, and I said to him, why are we not having a meeting of all the people in the community? And he told me that there were 4 or 5 people who wanted to build garages, other buildings in their back, and I said, it's against the CCNRs, and he said, well, the Planning Commission wants to review the CCNRs because they feel some of them are too harsh. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he told me. Normally what happens is, and the procedure is, you have a meeting, a quorum of the homeowners, which is 20%, and you can adjust the CCNRs, okay? It's not like they're written in stone. My problem, my opposition to Ray's his variance is, This is a huge building. Looking out my backyard to the north, it's 45 feet from east to west, 16 feet high, which is 2 feet below the crown of our homes, which is 18 feet, and 21 feet deep. I've got some notes here, sorry. It's going to be 3 feet from the back wall. That back wall is also a retention wall. The soil level in our backyard is 3 feet above Tom Boulevard to the east. All that weight, that's all of the 20 homes pushing against that retention wall, and he's going to put a big, huge building in there pushing against that wall as well, and I'm worried that thing's going to collapse. We have a park to the east, Patriot Park. To the north of Patriot Park is Parsons Elementary School. During the school year, we have tremendous traffic of children and parents dropping kids off and going back and forth to school. If that wall collapses, well, that's not a good thing. At the rear of the garage, Ray wants to put an apartment with a bathroom and a kitchen. So you're going to have all those plumbing fixtures feeding into our limited soil capacity. I used to be a plumber. Our sewer lines, and our water line is a PVC inch-and-a-half line. It's had numerous leaks, and so he's going to be adding more stress onto that infrastructure. The garage, he wants a 3-foot setback. The garage roof to the south, that when we get these torrential rains, all that rain is going to come pouring off that roof right on that party wall, which I share with Ray. And I'm afraid it's going to collapse. I'm afraid it's going to eventually fall apart with all that stress of the water falling down on it. It's not aesthetically consistent with the community. If you drive down Tom Boulevard, that's the east side of our property, there are no big buildings in the rear yards. One person has like a storage shed, and I think it looks like it might be a little playroom. It looks like a playroom for the kids. It's like maybe 5 by 8. It's not very big. So it's going to stick out. This building's going to stick out like a sore thumb and totally block off anybody, myself and everybody to the south of me who signed a petition. It's just going to be like the Berlin Wall during East German, It's going to set a bad precedent because, like I was saying before, if these people can build these buildings, if Ray can build his garage with this plumbing and all this other stuff, other people are going to follow suit. And so I believe it's going to overstress our community.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wanting to be heard? Please come forward. We have 2 mics, so please line up at the mics and try not repeating anything that's already been said.
Stephen Richards, 4013 Nancy Marguerite. My whole feeling with this is Ray has an existing pool, built-in pool. There is a waterfall structure next to the pool, and he's trying to shoehorn a extremely large structure. He's trying to, can always ask. He's trying to shoehorn the biggest thing he can right there. I just don't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
5105 Missy Marie Lane. I also object strenuously to this. It's going to be a hugely big, monstrous-looking building. It will not fit in our neighborhood, and we were not invited to any meetings with the architectural people at all, nor were we invited to any HOA meetings to discuss this. So this was somehow pushed through, and nobody else, and all the people that signed this petition, they were not invited to any meetings either.
It was
Okay,
not
could we get your name one more time? The mic wasn't on.
Marilyn Heisel.
Thank you. All right, I appreciate your comments.
It was not approved by the board. It was approved by the Ray. It was approved by the architectural committee, not by the board.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and ask Mr. Godfrey if he wants to come back up for a few comments, rebuttal.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to speak to some of the concerns that my neighbors mentioned. In regards to the apartment rental comment, the structure is actually meant for my elderly grandmother. It will be nothing more than a efficiency. It'll have a bathroom, refrigerator, microwave, and that is all. Once she is finished using the structure, it'll be a pool house to service the pool that they spoke of as well. As far as the 3-foot setback, in the drawings in my application, the exterior wall of the community has some drop backs for trees. There's not a tree in my drop back, but my 3-foot setback would be from the deepest portion of that wall. A majority of the foundation of that building would be supported by a 12-foot piece of land. In addition to that, all of this would be engineered, and it would all be built to stamp drawings approved by the city. I have a copy of the HOA board letter. It's also in the application packet, and it does stipulate that it's conditional to approved stamp drawings from the city as well. Definitely, I'm not trying to set a precedence. There's, as all others have stated, there's other buildings already in the community, similar in square footage as mine. There's already a casita / garage combo actually on the property of the president of the HOA. So I feel I've gone through proper channels in accordance to the HOA. And
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions
Thank
that
you.
the board may have.
I'll turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Quinn.
You know, I think it's important to turn this over to an expert of HOAs, which is our dear Commissioner Toussaint, because she lives in one, she's ran them, and I'd like to hear her opinion before I make my decision. Thank you.
Commissioner Toussaint.
Thank you. It is interesting, and I understand everybody's viewpoint, and I have been in this situation before. But I think because there are so many heightened views on this, I would say, or people who have real definite opinions, I think what I would like to do is obey this for 30 days and meet with your management company with Thoroughbred, I believe, have them have a neighborhood meeting, sit down, talk to the neighbors. It doesn't mean if they disagree with you that you come back here that we're not going to agree with you. That doesn't mean that at all. But I think as a courtesy, it would be a good idea to meet with Thoroughbred, have a meeting. How many doors are in your HOA? How many
I'm sorry?
homes? How many homes are in your
40.
HOA? Okay. 46? 46?
Pardon me, 46.
So my motion would be, I'm not ready to make a motion, my motion would be to obey it for 30 days, have a meeting, and then come back.
Are you fine with abeyance?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, motion's on the floor to hold this item in abeyance for 30 days. Please cast your vote. Please post. That motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, my apologies, you were correct. There was an additional thing, so that will be the August 8th Planning Commission meeting.
And that would be for item 51 and 52.
Correct, sir. 51 and 52 will both be obeyed to the August 8th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item 53, VAR 70661, applicant Ray Gramble, owner Eric and Danielle Forschler. You're going to have to tell me how to pronounce that here in a second. And for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 15-foot front yard setback where 20 feet is required and to allow an accessory structure in the front of a primary structure for proposed accessory structure Class 2 garage at 8012 Robinson Circle, Ward 2, Beers. Staff recommends denial. May we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to permit a proposed garage that does not meet the minimum setback requirements. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary hardship to justify the request has been presented, and staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Please note that there were additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening. Is it Forschler?
Yes, good evening. No, I'm Ray Grable. I represent the applicant.
Okay.
It's what we're proposing is to put the garage, it's a workshop more than a garage, in the front. It's a unique property. It's at a dead end, small circle, dead end, one of the old Sproul homes. They have a huge front yard, as you can see. So he wants to put the building right there in the front with a 10-foot setback on the back wall, 5-foot on the side wall, and we're looking at a 15-foot on the front. So the front is a little bit closer, but as you can see, compared to the house, it's really similar. If you look at the corner of the garage to the building setback, they're very, very close. If there's an issue, we don't have a problem staying within that, moving back to a 20-foot setback. It's not a huge deal, but as far as I know, we didn't have anybody come to us. He went to all of his neighbors and asked them. They said fine. In fact, fortunately, in this neighborhood, most of the yards are dirt.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Turn this over to the Plan Commission meeting. I'll start just by saying that it looks like a unique property, and you know, it's longer than it is deep, and so I can see where the variance is required. So I don't have an issue with it, but I'll listen to my other commissioners, starting with Commissioner Shulridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I just have a few questions, and I'll just rattle them off and answer them. It's quicker that way. Do you have a neighborhood association? If so, did you get their approval?
No.
You have none?
No, there is no association.
Okay, very good. You say it's going to be a workshop, not a garage?
Workshop garage, he's going to do more workshop type things in there. He's a woodworker. He likes to build things.
Part of the map that's on the screen now shows it's going to be no electric, no plumbing, no HVAC.
On our plans, yes.
What kind of carpenter is he if he can do it with no electricity?
No, in our plans, as far as building the building, that's what we plan as far as.
Yeah, Tough Shed's not going to do the electrical work.
And then he'll have to get a permit if he wants to bring any.
Gotcha.
electrical
Okay,
in.
thank you. And we, of course, understand there's no commercial work that could be allowed out of a
That's correct.
workshop like that.
No commercial.
Okay. And the exterior of the building, is it going to be Tough Shed T111 or whatever they're doing, or are you going to stucco it and paint it to match the house?
Yes, it's a 40-year siding, so it's really going to match the house. If you know much about Sproul homes, they actually, I lived in one, my first home. They're a slate, asbestos slate, and it's, don't build any more homes like that. A lot of the people have taken some of the slate off and they've stuccoed them or they put wood up. On their particular home, you can see in the view here, it's wood, it's a wood siding, and that slate on the sides. So it's really, the neighborhood is mixed. There's no real conformity.
Okay. If there's no further questions.
No further questions, if we can get a motion.
Okay. The answers you've given me and the shape of the lot provide me with sufficient justification that there is extraordinary circumstances to approve this request. So my motion would be to approve variance 70661.
Motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. Motion's for approval. And that motion carries.
And
Thank
that
you.
item is final action, Mr. Chairman, unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item 54 and 55. 54 is SUP 70769, applicant owner 824 South Decatur LLC, For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a hotel residence use at 824 South Decatur Boulevard, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. And item number 55, SDR 70770, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a 6-story, 133-room hotel residence with a waiver to allow a building with no changes in wall plane, color, material, or relief, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the request is for redevelopment of the property at 824 South Decatur Boulevard with a proposed residence hotel. A special use permit is required for a hotel residence within the C2 General Commercial Zoning District. The 6-story hotel building would be constructed of overseas containers with glass curtain wall and concrete accents. The staff report does mention a portico shear with a pool on top of it. That is not a part of this application. Staff supports the architectural design waiver request due to the unique construction method using containers for the main construction material makes providing relief and changes in wall plane unrealistic, and the consistent colors and materials are part of the architect's efforts to provide a cohesive design. A previous request for a special use permit and site development plan review for a 140-room, 4-story residence hotel was withdrawn without prejudice at the February 1st City Council meeting this year. Staff recommends approval. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Chairman, Commissioner. And
Can I get you to speak a little louder in the mic
Yes.
or pull it towards you?
Good evening, and thank you to allow us to be here, Chairman and Commissioner. And so this is a new project. And
can I get your name and address?
Oh, sorry. My name is Angelo Ferrugia, and the address is 2621 Creston Avenue in Los Angeles.
Okay, thank you.
And so we are here to answer to question. The project, like a staff says, is a new type of construction with I would say more shipping container frame, because nobody sees the shipping container at the end, and there is a wall glass curtain and concrete on the side and swimming pool on the top. 133 units will be almost 600 square feet per unit with 1-bedroom unit.
If you could speak a little bit
yes,
louder.
Yes, I'm a little bit far. So.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
Nothing else to
Thank you. This was noted as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'm closing the public hearing. Turn this over to the Planning Commission. I'm going to go ahead and start. I just have a question for you. Not that it makes a difference from a planning perspective, but just out of curiosity, are you putting windows at the edges or at the edge of each of the containers?
Yes, in fact, the container will be used like a metal frame. So if we had to build with a metal beam, it will be exactly the same. So our whole design is the metal frame, and then the structural design around, like a high-rise, is like that. You know, you have the concrete or metal, and then they create a wrap around. So this is exactly the same. The only thing is that the metal is the shipping container recycling. And for example, our unit are 2 shipping containers together. So the 2 walls in the center of the unit, we use them as a recycle as a carport, where we put a green local landscape on top of it. So as you can see on the plan here. So all the carport will be made out of the 2 metal walls that we take off when we joined 2 shipping containers together.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Quinn.
Good evening. I was curious, usually when an application that I consider pretty intense for Ward 1 comes into the ward, I'm contacted by the applicant, and we have a meeting, a week or so before this meeting, and I have never turned down a meeting ever unless if I've been ill. So first of all, I personally don't feel like I'm informed enough on this project to vote this evening in favor of it, and not to deny it, of course, either. The second thing is, although you're not required to have a neighborhood meeting, across the street from you are people that have lived there for 20, 30 years, and I know people will say, well, some of them might just be renters, but you know what, they're people. And so after my colleagues make their comments, and they might just think it's fine because it looks great. I don't, because I have yet to meet with you, I've not sat down with you, and most importantly, I think you need to reach out to the neighbors because you want to be welcomed and not just show up. You know, it's kind of like coming to a party without an invitation kind of thing. So I'd like to hear what my other commissioners say, but my feeling is I would like to hold it if we could and speak about it directly. But after my other commissioners speak, I will make a motion.
If you can I answer to that part? In fact, it was a misunderstanding of our part because this was just to have a first pre-app. The project is so new and we go through so much engineering to it that we thought that this was first a pre-approval from staff and the code and everything. And then if we have that, we go through the process of official building, so go to see
Okay,
all the
let me
commissioner
ask you a
and-
question. Would you be willing to hold this in advance for 30 days
Yes.
and have that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Looks like
if
there's no
that's
other
okay.
comment, so would
Yeah,
you like to go ahead and make a
thank you
motion?
so much. I'm going to make the motion on number 54, special use permit 70769. We're going to hold it for 30 days, and I look forward to hearing from you and meeting with you. Thank you very much.
Motion's on the floor to hold
Thank
this in advance until the August 8th Planning Commission hearing. Please cast your vote. Mark me as yes. It's not coming up. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, just for a point of clarification, may I just understand what type of meeting is being requested? Is it a neighborhood meeting? Or is it?
It's my recommendation that it's not a condition, Peter. It's a recommendation that they would have a neighborhood meeting out of courtesy for the neighbors, and then I would like to meet them prior to the next meeting as a recommendation, Peter.
Thank you for the clarification.
Is there any clarification? I mean,
That was ample. I just need to know, in following up with this item before the next Planning Commission meeting.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Quinn?
Yeah, regarding item number 55, SDR 70770, my motion is to hold that item as well for 30 days. Thank you.
Motion's on the floor for item 55 to hold it for 30 days to the August 8th Planning Commission hearing. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Moving on to, we'll see y'all next month.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Moving on to item 56, SUP 70669, applicant owner Scott A. Carlson, Revocable Living Trust, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for short-term residential rental use with a waiver to allow a 569-foot distance separation from a similar use where 660 feet is required at 1700 Banny Avenue, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to Title 19.12, a short-term residential rental use is permitted in the RE zoning district as a conditional use, but requires a 660-foot separation from a similar use. There is an established short-term residential rental use located 569 feet from the subject site. The applicant is requesting a special use permit with waivers to allow a 569-foot distance separation from a similar use where 660 feet is required. Staff recommends denial of this request. Please note that there were additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi there. I'm Scott Carlson. I'm the homeowner occupant. I have some additional
And your
material
address?
packets to pass out. I'm sorry?
Your address?
1700 Banny Avenue.
Sir, please go ahead.
Okay. First, I want to make a comment about the distance. I guess the recommended distance is 660 feet, and the measurement of the distance in my use is 569. And that distance, just so everybody's clear, is from the rear corner of my backyard to the rear corner of the other short-term rental. And it's the only animal that would trek that path would be a bird. From a human distance factor, it's 4 blocks. It's a 7-minute walk to go from my house to the other rental 4 blocks away. I actually have a videotape of how long the walk is. It's quite, when you see the distance, you see how far my block is to begin with. You can't even see Terry, who works for me, he's a landscaper, does my landscaping. He walked from my house, and you can't even see him come into view, until several minutes or a few minutes into the walk, or maybe a minute. I didn't time it. That's how long the block is. So that's why I brought a video. But I understand it's late, and I'm expecting I'm going to have to spend a fair amount of time up here on rebuttal. And so if you'd like to see the video, I have it. I can play it, but I don't want to burden you with it if you think that's something you want to see.
I don't think at this point, but did the other gentleman have any comments?
Gentleman's name is Terry Halmross. He's the one that did the walk. So if there were questions about the video, I wanted him available so people, if they had questions, he could answer.
Okay.
But if we don't play the video, then that's not necessary, although he may have
I mean, the
some
video is
comments.
just about noise and about how far noise travels and stuff, right?
The video just shows how really far away these two places are in terms of human usage. Whether
Okay.
you were to walk or drive, you've got 4 blocks, and they're not close at all.
I don't
in
think
any-
we need to see that because we have it, on our screen exactly where they're at. So
That's why I asked.
we
I
can
just
see.
didn't want to make you didn't want to make you sit through it if you didn't want to see it.
I appreciate it, though. All right.
Okay, the second point I want to make is that and I think I made this on my justification letter, is measuring property line to property line creates a discriminatory result to large lot properties. And I really question whether that would hold up constitutionally, but I'm not going to express a legal opinion, but I think it's really a real question. But I don't think, and I think because it's just a guideline rather than a statutory absolute rule, I don't know that it's necessarily relevant here. But I wanted to point that out because it kind of creates, not only is it maybe a discriminatory rule or a guideline, but it also creates a situation where a large lot applicant is actually discriminated against people who are another applicant who's got neighbors right on top of them because it's a more dense area. And you have situations where, for example, if you measure house to house, I'm almost 700 feet away. It's like 696 feet. So it's well beyond the 660. But it's only because I have a big, large lot that I'm even running afoul of this issue. And when you think about it logically, the big concern on short-term rentals is the party houses, which, by the way, this isn't even going to come close to a party house because this is my home. I live there. I'm not an absentee owner. I'm talking about just having a few guests for some specific purposes come. I'm a tax CPA. I understand if they come and they compensate me. For example, the example I gave in the write-up there is what I'm expecting is my sister is a member of the Oakland Raiders Booster Club in Sacramento. And she and her husband and several other fans, couples, have regularly made a trek taking a bus from Sacramento to Oakland for all the Raider games for decades now. And so guess where they're going to want to come when the Raiders come to Vegas? And I have a large home, which my sister, of course, is always going to be welcome as well as her husband, but they're going to probably want to bring 2 or 3 different couples. They're all in their 60s, as far as I know. My sister's 60. My brother-in-law is 70, in his 70s, and they're going to be generous and offer me money. They're going to say, well, we saved the hotel bill by staying with you. Now, I am a tax CPA. I know I'm supposed to share that receipt of money with the IRS. It also seems to me I should share it with the city of Las Vegas because they're coming to see the Raiders. They should pay the hotel tax. That's why they're coming. It just made sense to me. So that's why I made the application. And then I had a second purpose, which was my house is a bit notorious. It's been known as the La Plaza Mansion, which I didn't know that until I was in escrow to buy it. But if you Google it, you'll find out it's quite notorious. It's listed on the internet as one of the 10 most haunted places in America. And all of that stemmed from a Travel Channel program, and I won't go into all the details unless there are questions, but it's created a stigma to my house. And I get people to this day, Terry's the landscaper, he can speak to it, they come every week. I have people that come, and he's not there at 1 a.m., but I have people that come at 1 a.m., they get out of their cars, they're taking pictures, they're shaking my gates, and I don't know, are they just looky-loo curious people? Is this a home invasion about to happen? I don't like this, I hate this. So one idea I had is, well, I'm a single man in a large house, and why can't I do the same thing if I have my sister and her couples come over for a weekend for Raider football? Why can't I have families come over? And maybe if I have a family come over with their kids and I have them write a guest log and a testimonial that says, hey, we stayed here and there are no ghosts. Oh, let me be clear. There are no ghosts. It was all for TV ratings. It was fabricated. I cooperate with, there was an Amazon producer for Audible that came by last year, and she wanted to do a story in the house, and the only reason I let her do it is she promised that her story was not to try to perpetuate the ghost, but the opposite.
Okay, but we're not talking about ghosts any longer. I mean, we're talking about a special use permit for a short-term rental.
Right.
And so I think we're getting way off track.
Well, the reason that some of the materials submitted in opposition all speak to all this, so that's why I thought it was something relevant, because apparently a lot of the opposition submittals that you've gotten are falsely stating a lot of stuff that is not factually accurate. So that's, to me, seemed relevant. But anyway, but I'll skip over that.
I'm not going to let the ghost, affect my decision one way or another.
But anyway, so that's the idea. Seems to me I'm supposed to do the right thing. I'm supposed to get a permit. I'm supposed to pay the taxes. I went to the city, said, this is what I want to do. What do I do? And after some debate at the city about what permit or whatever I should get, it was determined at the planning department, which is what I mean. It was determined that this is the permit I need to apply for, and I'm just trying to follow the process.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing, and it looks like there's several people here that want to talk. So I'll give you a second for a rebuttal at the end. I'm not going to give you that much time, but I'll give you 2 minutes at the end for a rebuttal.
I'm grateful for
Take your pen and write down all the things that you need to talk about when you come back up here. If you could sit in the front row so everybody else can come up and talk. We do have 3 mics, and so I'd ask everybody to line up at the mics. And I would also ask that people don't repeat themselves, and so, or repeat what everybody else has said. So good evening, sir. Could we get your name and address for the record?
I'm Tom Puckett. I'm at 1710 Banny Avenue, which is right next door to the subject property where I've lived for 21 years. And no personal animosity to Scott. He's been very diligent about trying to get this done and canvassing the neighborhood and holding meetings. All that's happened. The reality is, though, the restriction exists for a reason. This is a historic neighborhood. It's a Scotch 80s historic neighborhood. We're quite concerned that Scott's personal intent, as he says, we're going to have Raiders Nation come, but only the good ones. Only the old, calm ones are going to be coming to stay in this home next door. And this notion of his property values being diminished by haunting, well, they were diminished during the Great Recession, or I certainly lived through that. They're now they're haunted by Project Neon, which ultimately I think we all welcome, even though it creates a short-term issue for us. We bear him no ill will, but we really are very much opposed to allowing this to happen. And irony of ironies, there is nothing, I mean, you can't dictate if it's a rental, who he can have come to the property. If they're old Raiders fans, young Raiders fans, you have no control over that. And ironically, he would actually be able to market the property to occultists, ghost hunters, people that like that kind of thing, and we really don't want them coming and hanging out in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm Stephen Grogan. I'm president at 2121 Silver Avenue. I'm president of the Scotch 80 Owners Association. You've heard me speak several times before. Our association in our neighborhood is totally against commercial encroachment into residential neighborhoods. Regardless of 660 foot, we just don't want any commercial operations. This is a perfect example of it. I submitted a letter recently on Friday to the Planning Commission. You may have it in your files. But an interesting point of this, I just point out, is the neighbor directly behind the applicant is Jerry Lewis, the comedian, who is an elderly, who deserves a little peace and quiet in his life, and the applicant has put forward that he can have 13 cars parked on his property, which suggests that this is not going to just be a quiet operation. So I ask you to consider the fact that we want to maintain our residential neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name's Gerald Duncan. I live at 1716 Adra Court. If an individual goes through the process of to be permitted to run a short-term rental, it must be assumed that is exactly what they intend to do with their property. We don't want to find that a sometime short-term rental that was permitted by stretching the law because of some supposed extenuating circumstances is in reality a full-time short-term rental. There's no such thing as a short-term rental light or seasonal short-term rental. There's only short-term rental as defined by the city, and 660 feet of separation is the requirement. The other thing I might just mention is sound and light, which are two unwelcome byproducts, or can be, of a party house, which any short-term rental could be. They live in a universe of Euclidean geometry. They don't take leisurely walks up and down side streets to get from one point to the other. They go in a straight line. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Duncan, 1716 Adra Court. In our single-family residential neighborhoods, we now have commercial businesses right next door or on the same block as our homes. Our older neighborhoods with expired HOAs and no gates close to the Strip are particularly being harmed. That's just not right. We residents have been working and producing and caring for this city and our neighborhoods for generations. We now have to deal with loud parties at all times of the night and day, drunk drivers on our streets, garbage and unmentionable items strewn on the grounds, drug use, prostitutes, and God forbid, sex trafficking. We no longer have the security or the safety we once had, nor our quiet enjoyment, and our home values are greatly affected. Our only safety net right now is the 660-foot barrier. Please do not approve this or any variance of that 660 feet, no matter what the excuse, and I thank you.
Thank you. And even though I didn't put time limits on tonight, I appreciate everybody keeping it short tonight. So,
we greatly appreciate you listening to us tonight. I live at 1621 Birch Street. I live in Scotch 80s. I currently have one of these homes across the street from me. There's currently 5 cars and 11 people in that house. This is my neighborhood. I violently oppose the cannibalization of our neighborhood by commercialization. And I don't know whose idea it was, or who thought it was a good idea to put businesses in our neighborhoods. But you've got to rethink this. Our neighborhood sustains our city. Thank you very much.
sir, if I could ask you one more thing, name and address for the record.
Oh, I said I live at 1621 Birch Street. I'm sorry. My name is John Saline. I've lived there for 24 years.
Okay.
I love my neighborhood. Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Pam Grogan. I live at 2121 Silver Avenue. I oppose this SUP. I just want to read a little bit of an email that Scott had sent to someone else that lived on Charmist Avenue, what he intends to also do with this property. He said, since I don't want volume visitors, the idea was to price an invitation to come and stay for a weekend very high, likely well beyond the reach of the nutcases, and then offer a big family discount to attract family with kids. I would have to disclose the haunted reputation to the parents, and of course, some would balk, but then he goes on and on to talk about the ghost house, and then he said, of course, there was my sister and her Booster Raider friends. So, again, we oppose this.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Herman Fox. I live at 1244 Park Circle, which is around the corner from this house. I also was involved in the building of, or refurbishing of 3 houses in the neighborhood. My mother lives around the corner from this house also. She's 87 years old. I just have one thing to add, is that, the Scotch 80s has become kind of ground zero for the whole short-term rental area, and we were on the front lines supporting Lois Tarkanian and this new legislation, which created the special use permit requirement in order to get short-term rental in. And the only thing I wanted to add was that, you have a few people here speaking, but we have organized against encroachment of commercial interests, and if we thought this were had any chance of going through, we could deliver a lot more people. I mean, we've had TV coverage, we've had signs, we've had groups and marches and stuff like that. This is exactly the kind of thing we're organized to stop. We're trying to keep our neighborhood just what it is, a nice family neighborhood, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the, before I turn it over to the Plan Commission, I'm going to give you a 2-minute rebuttal if you'd like to come up and make any comments based on anything that was said.
What I'd like to say is in response to some of the comments, particularly Mr. Grogan's comments, who lives 2,000 feet away and his house is for sale, so I don't know if he's even going to be in the community. We don't have a homeowners association. He has his group that he's formed. But it's not a homeowners association. But he has stated things that are completely inaccurate. And if I may just go back down one by one. With regard to Jerry Lewis, Jerry, we share a fence. And I've spoken to family members. I've told them what I'm doing. I've dropped off several mailings at the Lewis, hand-delivered. I've said, here's what I'm planning. Let me know if Jerry has a problem with it. If he has any concerns or issues, let me know. I have not heard back. I don't believe he's had a protest. So for someone to come up and speak for him as if he should protest, I find that's offensive to me. Secondly, he makes reference to George Arlt. I'm not sure who George is, but Tom Arlt lives across the street. I've had several meetings and discussions with Tom and Linda, and with each of their children who also own property, houses on the street or live in there, Diana, Eric, and Brian. I've had dialogue with all my neighbors. I've actually had a neighborhood meeting, but that neighborhood meeting was sabotaged by Mr. Grogan, who posted on Nextdoor that this is not approved by the city planning department and it's not sanctioned by our group, don't attend. So I've reached out and tried to give everybody an opportunity to speak with me. I have mailing. Terry has walked. I paid him to walk the neighborhood and drop off envelopes, stuff envelopes. I've done everything I can to be open and have communications. So for people to state falsehoods, that just really upsets me. Second, the next thing he says, it's not a Raiders booster home. This is my sister, and she happens to know a lot of Raider fans, and she's going to want to bring some of her friends. That's it. That's what I talked about. I went to the city, and I said, what do I do? Do I get a permit? This is what I plan to do. If people are taking, and I appreciate those of you who live near party houses. I get it. I can see that must be frustrating enough.
Mr. Chairman, even speak up to the mic.
I'm not, this is not a party house. I live in the house. I'm not even, those houses are absentee owners. People are coming into my house, and I'm in charge of my house.
Sir,
so I just don't want to be held guilty for the crimes of others when I'm just trying to do the right thing.
I'm not sure if you hear that beeping noise.
No, I don't know what it, okay.
That
sorry.
beeping noise means that we went over by 45 seconds.
Okay. One closing comment. Councilwoman Tarkanian put this new bill in that I came and spoke in favor of because it's tighter and it put restrictions on. I can lose this license that I've spent all this time coming if I do any of the things that they're alleging. There was a a protest by Jessica Saylor and Keith Resnick. In the materials I gave you are my emails to her a month ago saying exactly the opposite of everything she says. She says I'm going to do a theme.
Well,
It's
thank you,
not
sir.
true.
You can stay right there, just in case if anybody has any questions for you. We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you very much. You know, this group comes out not just to represent their neighborhood. They come out and they fight for the surrounding neighborhoods, because what's happened is, like I've spoken to Mr. Grogan and Mrs. Grogan before, they've heard me say it, this has become an epidemic. And people kind of slam the fact that Councilman Tarkanian put an ordinance in effect, but the fact is that took the short-term rental from 0 days or 3 days to 30 days. Okay, so therefore, number one, it's a 30-day ordinance on a short-term rental, not a weekend, for boosters or for ghost hunters or for your sister and her friends. So without being, you know, trying to be on one side or the other, the fact is the ordinance is 30 days, and that's why it was put in effect. And regardless if you're off by 1 feet or 300 feet, your neighbors don't want this in their neighborhood. These people come out every month, not just tonight. They're like, they are so protective of the entire neighborhood. So with that, I'm not going to support the item. I'm going to follow staff's recommendation for denial. And I said it at the last meeting, I'm going to say it tonight. You think you can go ahead and do it anyway because your house is big and all this? These people are like neighborhood watch. You know, because code services cannot do everything. Don't interrupt me. And they always slam the city for not doing enough. Well, guess what? They're the eyes, they're the ears. They can take pictures and they can turn it in. So the bottom line is no. And if my colleagues have any other comments, that's fine. If not, I'm ready for a motion.
May I just react to one thing?
No.
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Chair.
Please do.
Since the short-term rentals have been allowed, this planning commission has a really great reputation for enforcing these distance separations. And I am one who, this is my last day, but I'm proud to say we have enforced those, and I hope we continue to. And I hope the word gets out that we enforce these distance separations so people stop coming in trying to seek a special use permit on them. So I also can't support this.
Mr. Chairman, I would like Commissioner Moody to make that motion this evening. Thank you.
Commissioner Moody? Oh, Commissioner Toussaint.
No, I agree with everything Commissioner Moody said and Commissioner Quinn. People move into a residence, they move into a neighborhood because it's a neighborhood. I grew up here. This is my home. I probably lived here longer than any of you because I'm older than all of you. But I wouldn't want this in my backyard, and I wouldn't want it next door to me. So if I wouldn't want it next door to me, I wouldn't want it next door for you, so I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moody?
Thank you. 56 SUP 70669. My motion is to follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion's on the floor for denial. The yes vote is for denial. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
May I say one thing, please, because it's a record correction? I never said I was going to do this anyway. I said my sister and her friends can come up anyway.
It wasn't about that. I mean, I think our decision is based
I understand,
strictly
but
on
I
the
never
testimony.
said I was going to do it anyway. I said that they can come up. The only thing that is an issue is
Sir,
if
it's
they
a
give me
little
money,
bit
that's all.
inappropriate for us to continue discussing it after we already voted, so, but I do appreciate your comments.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to item 57, SUP 70964, applicant Operation Hope, Inc., owner Homeless Helpers, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for an alternative parking standard to allow 7 parking spaces where 21 parking spaces are required for proposed general personal service and clinic use at 204 Master Lane, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. I'm sorry, staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
That's better, that's better.
Mr. Chairman, The applicant has substantiated this request through a parking study performed by a Nevada licensed professional engineer, which has demonstrated that the 7 parking spaces is sufficient for both the existing general personal service and the proposed clinic use. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this application. Please note that there was an additional letter of support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Michael Swecker, 873 Sumner Ranch, Henderson, Nevada. I'm part of the property owner and accompanied today with Dr. Shin, who would be the operator of the clinic. We're kindly asking your approval tonight on a parking variance. Just want to clarify, we're not asking for a use permit for the medical use. We're already zoned for C2. So the facility and the application, the proposed use, has triggered a parking variance, and as staff mentioned at their request, we've had Locks Engineering prepare this report that indicated that 6 stalls were necessary to operate the 667 or so square foot medical clinic as part of our 4,700 square foot facility. And we have 7 parking spots, so we're 1 over that. And Dr. Shin can answer any questions, if necessary, about the medical clinic operation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to make any comments or not?
Sure. My name is Dr. Elias Shen. I reside at 11044 Sonoma Creek Court. I guess I just want to point out that this clinic is for the homeless population right on the Fort Master Lane, and it's exclusively for the homeless. And we are a volunteer-based organization of healthcare professionals, and the homeless people obviously wouldn't have cars to come to the clinic, and so there won't be group of cars needing parking spaces during our clinic use. And we have another clinic that's been operation for 8 years now on Sahara location. We have served 14,000 people so far in the past 8 years, and we'd like to extend that to our homeless friends on the street.
Thank you so much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Trowbridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I have had the opportunity to tour the Fort Master area several times over the years, and I can certainly support staff's recommendation for a waiver of the parking requirement. I mean, I don't know any of the people that I've seen down there that had a vehicle. So I'm going to be in support of this, and if there's no other comments, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. In regards to item 57, special use permit 70964, make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Please, that motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, that item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within the next 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 58, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within jurisdiction of the Plan Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Plan Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Is there anybody that would like to be heard? Seeing none, I'll turn this over to the Planning Commission, and I just want to say I've enjoyed my time with Commissioner Trowbridge and Commissioner Moody. You brought a wealth of knowledge to this commission. You're going to be greatly missed. We have a young board now with the new members. And anyways, wish you all a lot of luck, and we're going to miss you all, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to get sappy, but, you know, I was thinking 40 years ago, as a new Boy Scout, I raised my arm to the square in the Scout sign, and I made an oath to serve God and my country. And 7 years ago, Councilman Ross reached across the political aisle and appointed me as his planning commissioner. And it has been such a pleasure to be a part of Las Vegas's future by, helping this board plan what our city's going to look like and what we're going to do. It's been extremely satisfying for me. I have a new appreciation for the city of Las Vegas, for the staff, and for my fellow planning commissioners, all of whom I will consider my dear friends, and I hope our paths will cross many times in the future. So thank you all. I've really enjoyed this.
We have a plaque to present to you. Commissioner Quinn? Oh, no, I thought you wanted to say something.
Oh, excuse me, I did. I don't think people realize that when you sit up here for 6 years and on and off for 10 years with Commissioner Trowbridge, people think that we have our lives and we go on every day. But as a matter of fact, we really are kind of like a family back here. We worry about each other. We think about each other. We watch each other's backs when the other person's not there, and whether it's right or wrong to say, we pray for each other, we embrace each other. And I know I'm going to see Glenn Trowbridge for a long time because he works directly with my son, Stephen, and Stephen respects him dearly. And I know as I sit here today in front of all of you, I think I've made one of my lifelong dearest friends in Commissioner Moody, and I thank you for that.
Vice Chair Cherry?
Yeah, just to add to that, thank you both. You guys have been role models for me and great stewards of the community, and thank you for everything that you've done on this board. So thank you.
Commissioner Trowbridge?
Well, thank you for your kind words. I have sat on this board for almost 11 years and have been the vice chair and the chair several times. And I remember back when the community was booming, we used to have planning commission meetings that went on twice a month, and they would routinely go to after midnight, often till 2 in the morning, with major projects and major developments. But even the largest of projects and the smallest of projects, whether someone wants a variance for a backyard storage shed, I think we collectively as a board have given each and every applicant the opportunity to express their feelings, their needs, their wants, and their willingness to make concessions to make everyone happy. And this has been an extremely rewarding experience for me, and I just don't know what I'm going to do without the $80 a month. So, thank you very much.
And Commissioner Trowbridge, we'd like to present you with a plaque for your years of service.
Thank you for the planning department. Thank you, sir.
All right. If there's no other comments, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. This meeting's adjourned.
Peter wants to